People are saying, speculating that because of his high dose cycles that it's led to a lower IQ, that the guy's an idiot. But really, to do these kind of cycles, you have to be an idiot in the first place. Coach Greg, in a highly requested video, it's going over a guy's crazy cycle, massive cycle. The guy goes by the name of Chinese Arnold. He's really popular, or should I say infamous. You know, famous for being wrong or being a moron. People are saying, speculating that because of his high dose cycles that it's led to a lower IQ, that the guy's an idiot. But really, to do these kind of cycles, you have to be an idiot in the first place. And so although he does these massive cycles, far greater than I've ever done, he does not have a pro quality physique. He competes, he's often soft, not shredded, has several pounds to lose. And so just because you do a massive cycle, a crazy cycle, doesn't mean you're going to have a crazy and wild looking physique. And in going through these cycles, I'm going to start with the injectables first, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation, explaining what they are, the size of the dose, and just how crazy it really is. Following that, I'll go over his orals. I'm going to explain the pros and cons of each of these items, and you'll clearly see this cycle, it makes no sense. And the first thing, or the base of any cycle, typically it's going to be testosterone, and he obviously uses test. He uses 5 mLs per week, and considering most are dosed at 250, he's taking 1,250 milligrams of test per week. Now that on its own, that is in fact a lot. The most I'd ever taken personally is 700. But it's this in combination with everything that really makes it ridiculous. And so at 1,250 milligrams a week, that's already 11 times higher than my current dose of HRT right now. And what's going to happen is extreme amounts of water retention, bloating, and potentially getting gynecomastia. And although I've seen people take more than this, trust me, we're just getting started. The second compound, boldenone, also known as EQ, well, he's doing 6 mLs a week, and for the most part dosed at 300 milligrams per mil. That's 1,800 milligrams of EQ each and every week. A very high dose or strong dose of boldenone would be approximately 600 milligrams a week, and so he's doing 3 times what a strong dose is. And so you can see we're already over 3,000 milligrams in total. A huge cycle for me back when I tried to turn pro was in fact 3,000 milligrams. And we're just getting started. Boldenone, known for increasing red blood cell count, also for increasing appetite. It's not really as water intensive as taking testosterone, approximately by 50%. And so if you're taking EQ in comparison to testosterone, the muscles are going to have a much leaner appearance. You're not going to look as puffy, as bloated, taking something like testosterone, D-bol, and so on. And next up, a compound you may or may not have ever heard of, it's trestolone, also known as MENT. Trestolone acetate comes in injectable form, and he's injecting 1 ml every other day. That equates to 350 milligrams a week. Personally, I believe that any acetate ester should be injected every single day, as it allows for a more stable blood levels to occur. With each injection, you get a massive spike followed by a drop. And so if you only inject every 2 days, you get a spike, a drop, back and forth, and so on. By injecting every day, you get a lower peak, lower drop, and much more stable blood levels. And you might be thinking, well, it's only 350 milligrams a week. That is not all that much. But remember, MENT is one of, if not the most powerful injectable steroid in the world. Even more powerful than tren. On average, it's about 10 times as strong as testosterone. That means if you were to inject 350 milligrams a week, it could in fact be as powerful as doing 3,500 milligrams of test. When comparing various testosterones, people often use an anabolic androgenic ratio, of which testosterone is 100 to 100. Tren, in comparison, it's 500 to 500. And you're thinking that's 5 times as strong. Well, in the real world, it doesn't actually work like this, but I can tell you that tren approximately 3 times as strong. MENT, on the other hand, has a ratio of 2,000 to 650. Way more potent than tren. And although 2,000 is 20 times bigger than 100, MENT is not going to put on 20 times as much muscle as test is. But for the most part, it could very well be 5 to 10 times as strong. And so on paper and in the real world, people who dose MENT and tren at the same levels most often will put on far more muscle with MENT. One major problem with MENT is it's going to cause a lot of water retention to occur. Think of it as D-bol on steroids, as if D-bol wasn't bad enough. MENT was first studied thinking, well, this could replace HRT. We won't need that much. The dose given was approximately 1 milligram per day. 1. And in a week, those of you who are good in math, 7 times 1 is 7 milligrams. And so imagine injecting 350 milligrams a week. That is a lot. I can personally say that I've used Ment in the past, was taking 25 milligrams a day. And yes, 25 times 7 is 175, and so half of what he's taking. But considering he's already taking 1,800 milligrams of boldenone, 1,250 of test, this is a lot. It's too much. Based on what he's taking so far, I would assume the guy would be very puffy, looking bloated, not having a lot of definition. You're thinking, oh, he's on a lot of steroids, should be shredded. It doesn't work like that. Oftentimes, people taking the highest dose of testosterone, yes, they're big, but not often are they all that lean. Next up, trenbolone or trenanethate, he's taking 2 mLs a week. That adds up to 400 milligrams. To me, that is a very strong dose, certainly more than a beginner or intermediate would have to take, but it's not a lot for an advanced level bodybuilder. Personally, I've gone as high as 700 milligrams a week, although I couldn't personally handle it, felt like garbage, couldn't sleep, had an uneasy feeling in my body, just didn't feel right. And so I had to lower the dose, and so for me, anywhere from 400 to 500 milligrams, that is the most I can handle. But considering he's taking this in addition to everything else. Remember, it's not any one of these things that's the most harmful, it's all of these used in unison. And because he's using Tren-Nth versus Tren-Ace, doing twice weekly injections, it allows him to have stable blood levels. And so he's not going to get the highs and the lows as if he was using the acetate ester. So this actually makes sense. Not that he should be taking Tren. Remember, never break the law and only use any of these things with the advice and consent from your own doctor. As you can see to now, there's a lot that's going to put on muscle. In fact, far too much. He could have used any one of these things and made tremendous gains. Or if he decided he wanted to use all these, he could have used them at much lower doses. If, for example, a very effective dose for you is 600 milligrams of one compound, if you're taking 2 compounds, you could in fact take half of each, 300 of one and 300 of the other, for a total of 600 milligrams. But if you're taking 600 of this, 600 of that, 600 of the next one, it all adds up. And considering his doses of these are often 1,000 or more, just imagine just how unhealthy this is. Imagine the damage he's doing to his internal organs, the years he's shaving off his life. Simply not worth it. And for what? To show up on stage looking like you're 4 weeks out? Why? Why is it worth it to you? And you think we're done here? No, we're just getting started. And for the most part, those were all bulking drugs to make you put on a lot of size, with the exception of Tren, which is often used for bulking and cutting. The rest of these, they're used for cutting. Well, the remaining injectables, we'll get into the orals after this. And so next up, Mastron and Nenthate, he's using 4 mLs a week. That equates to 800 milligrams. And Mastron, which doesn't lead to any estrogen conversion, it allows you to have a very lean and dry physique. But have you seen the rest of his cycle? How much water retention he's going to get? He's going to look like a sloppy bag of milk. And so although he's taking Mastron, which is a hardener, it makes the muscles appear that much more dry, he's not going to notice this in the slightest. He's got so many other compounds going to lead to water retention that Mastron, he's barely even going to notice it. And Mastron, in comparison to Tren, it's a lot weaker. Tren about 5 times stronger. And so in fact, 800 milligrams of Mastron will not put on as much muscle as even 200 milligrams of Tren. And so to me, why even add it in? Save this for when you're cutting for a bodybuilding competition. And get rid of all those bulking compounds. And last, and in this case least, Stenbolone, 2 mLs, 200 milligrams a week. And this, another cutting compound, not taking a very high dose. And so why even add it? If we were only taking Mastron, Stenbolone, perhaps a low dose of test, that would make sense to me. But in comparison to everything else, that would be like having a massive bucket of water and using an eyedropper and adding water to it. You're not even going to notice it. What's the point? And so this designer compound, most people have never heard of. Don't think you should add it. It's simply a waste of time. And next up, the orals. No injections, just swallows pills. Anadrol 50, very notorious for holding on a ton of water. Take this, within a week, you blow up. Not in a good way, you look puffy, bloated, but in fact, very strong. In higher doses, notorious for crushing your appetite. I once took this at 100 milligrams a day, and I couldn't eat. It felt like I was trying to force feed all the time. And so oftentimes you'll see bodybuilders talking about, oh, I have to force feed all the time. It's so hard to get the food down. It's not because you're eating so much food, it's because you're taking too many orals. You ever think of that? But how many pros are going to say, you know what, I'm bulking right now, I'm taking all these orals, all these drugs, and it's crushing my appetite. No, they just say, I have to eat big to get big. Yeah, but you're leaving out the details, the drugs that you're taking, because you don't want to be honest. You want to keep it a secret. Oh yeah, sure, you put all that muscle on, natural. Remember, Anadrol is an oral. It has a very short half-life, meaning you have to take it multiple times a day to have stable blood levels. And so what does he do? He takes 5 of them all at once before going to the gym. That's 250 milligrams. Remember, I took 100, couldn't eat, lost my appetite. And so a very effective dose for most people, 50 to 100 milligrams. And that's without taking anything else, perhaps a base cycle, a small amount of testosterone. And for some, 150 milligrams. Those who are crazy, those who are really into it, they might take 150. But no, not this guy. I'm going to take 250 all at once before going to the gym. Very liver toxic. And so imagine, what does his insides feel like? Imagine if he's going to the doctor, taking all these, getting his blood work done. Imagine what the results would be. Doctor probably have a heart attack himself, wondering how this guy never had a heart attack. I mean, really, this is crazy. Stupidly high doses. Don't ever copy this at home. And because he's taking all of these compounds, he has to take certain things to prevent problems from occurring. First up, cabergoline, also known as Doucette, that is going to decrease prolactin. When you take things like Deca or Tren, your prolactin levels go up. And when your prolactin levels go up, can decrease your sex drive. You can get ED. You know, your downstairs doesn't work properly. You get Deca cookbook. And so his solution, he takes 1 pill a week. Not per day, not every other day, per week. Remember, with anything, especially orals, they have a very short half-life. You are not supposed to take cabergoline or Doucette once a week. And so what could he do better? He could take half a pill, snap it in half, and take it twice weekly. Now remember, I'm not a doctor. Obviously, you should be asking the doctor what to do. How often should I take it? And so what you would do, taking the cycle like this, which you, of course, are never going to do, right? You're not that stupid. You go to the doctor, get your blood work, and if you notice your prolactin levels are through the roof, you take Doucette, which a doctor would prescribe, to become normal. Or you don't take any of this stuff in the first place, and you won't have to take anything. And last up, he's taking Anadrol, which is known as Arimidex. That is going to decrease estrogen. When you're taking testosterone, man, your body converts a lot of this into estrogen, and so your estrogen levels, they're through the roof. You then get bloated, you retain a lot of water, get even more serious problems such as gynecomastia. That's where you have breast tissue development in your chest and can eventually look like a woman. Remember, this kind of cycle, excessively dangerous. I can't explain how dangerous it really is. Your blood pressure through the roof. Your LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, super high, good cholesterol, HDL, gonna tank. Liver, kidneys, everything in danger. And so the only thing more stupid than doing this cycle is doing it an extra day. And so I encourage him to stop. Don't do this ever again. Go and get your blood work, get tested. Make sure you're not dying tomorrow. And if you convert how potent this cycle really is, you convert the fact that Tren is stronger than Test and Boldenone's weaker than Test and so on, overall, it'd be like taking approximately 6,000 to 7,000 milligrams of Test. The biggest cycle I've ever seen, about 5,000. And so this, to me, the biggest cycle I've ever seen. I'm hoping he lives. And remember, when you abuse these substances to this extent, your body, it's not going to produce testosterone on its own. You could try to get your test levels back, taking G-Test or 3-Test, or perhaps Nova, Clomid, HCG, and so on, but it might take months and or years, if ever. And so never take this cycle in the first place. Please try to stay natural. And whether you're natural or enhanced, one thing I'd strongly recommend, my #1 supplement, GO2 Max, the main ingredient NMN, has been shown to ward off age-related illnesses. It can in fact slow down your cells aging. Also improves your cardio, makes you a better butter burner, more energy. This was all described on the Joe Rogan podcast featuring Andrew Huberman, episode 1958, the final 16 and a half minutes. It's not in mice. It's not the placebo effect. This was double-blind, placebo-controlled human studies. And so whether you're a couch potato or an elite athlete racing in the Olympics, remember, it's not banned by WADA. Everyone can take it. This is the #1 supplement I would recommend. and there are no known negative side effects. It's perfectly safe. And don't forget, harder than last time supplements, including GO2 Max. Use code GREG, 10% off. Also, the cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, phone consults. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette IB Pro. Don't forget, watch the bloops, at least one of them. You don't need to watch both. Subscribe, click the bell button, like it now, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. It helps boost the algorithm. And until next time, I am out.